their difficult experiences and create something beautiful from that.
Yeah, there are a few examples that I really, really admire. There is one person, for example, an artist who's been in the business for over 20 years. His name is Matthew, and his artist name is Bushwaka, and he actually has been dealing with a lot of, I think, even also depression and addiction, and he doesn't make it a secret. He's been dealing with a lot of, consequences of how tough the music industry can be. And now he is a therapist. So he has his own practice right now, and he went back to school. So he's clean, he studied, and now he's offering his help to other people. And I think that's really, really important for the music industry. I have read a research about that artists, for example, people in the music industry, actually like to talk with somebody coming from the music industry, because you understand each other better. And I do that as well with how I am guiding people in the music industry, young talents or some more experienced people. It's quite handy, when somebody really understands what's actually going on in that industry. So yes, there are definitely people who put their pain into a new passion or path in their lives. Yeah.
Yeah, it's quite interesting when you just said there with not making a secret out of it.
Yeah.
So one thing, like in the recovery community, it's basically you're only as sick as your secrets. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I see that a lot because basically it does take a lot of energy to hide parts of oneself.
Yeah.
There was a cool study also done with regards to work. And so in companies where people feel psychologically unsafe, it takes 40% of their energy to actually hide parts of who they are. And so especially if, in industry, think about, let's create less waste. It's all about lean production and lean startup and blah, blah, blah. Then ultimately it's like, yeah, you got to bring everything that you have. You need to bring your whole human nature.
Exactly.
So that we can actually really create this lean way of working. And
exactly.
I also find when I see people doing something, like if it really comes from their heart, if there's this level of vulnerability of like, look, those are the challenges that I conquered, and then now I'm able to help you conquer them for yourself. There's a different authenticity in it, because I feel it doesn't just have this sort of cognitive cerebral thing anymore, but really there's this emotional charge of like, yeah, I actually like felt it, and I know what it feels like, what you're going through. And there's I feel deeper connection, really this heart-to-heart bond that arises.
Definitely. Yeah, you said two really important things. Hiding yourself. I call my mentorships as well holistic guidance, because what I've experienced as an artist as well, or for journalists for that matter in the industry, to any stage that you will perform at, you bring yourself. You cannot bring half of you as an artist. You bring yourself. So you also bring your insecurities or your fear of failure, but also your, I don't know, like your angels and your demons, right? And if you're not embracing it all, then it's just not sustainable. You will not have, you can reach success, but it will not be a sustainable success, or a success that you can actually enjoy, when you are only bringing parts of yourself, or you are not able to show yourself or share stuff that you're dealing with the people that you are working with closely. So that is a very important thing, but also talking with people that actually know what you've been through. Maybe not exactly, but for example, I've seen the music industry inside out. I know what's going on in the backstage areas. I know what it is to travel, even though my travel schedules were not even so. For example, yesterday I spoke also with a good friend of Avicii, and I've worked with him as well. And I don't know what it is to be in his place, but I've seen him moving around in the world during his career. So, and I know I've seen it up and close. So you can imagine when you start speaking with somebody that you don't want to explain all the details and then still not, the other person still doesn't know really what you're talking about, right? So I think for the music industry, it's really important to have people around you that understand what you're going through and how the music industry is built and how challenging it can be, to really have an open conversation about it. Definitely, yeah.
So, and I feel what you said there in terms of, on the one hand, having people that understand, where you don't, I mean, I feel the same in sort of like the sphere of spiritual entrepreneurship. Like the moment I don't need to explain to people what I mean by it, or that I do breath work or meditation or practice Buddhism, it actually leaves more energy to talk about the interesting co-creative aspects of what I want to do. And what you were saying there is that the moment we actually can fully show everything that we are, like the darkness of ourselves and the light of ourselves, there's this whole piece of integration. So previously, when I was doing things that were like less aligned to myself, so when I was, for example, in software startups, and I was sort of like hiding my spiritual side, then even if there were successes, I felt like, oh, I don't really deserve that. Because if people knew who I really was, then they wouldn't want to do this thing with me. And so it's really interesting that basically I feel like if I create success based on kind of a mask that I put to the world, then even though basically that facade becomes successful, like I myself still feel like, man, I actually don't deserve it. And then there's some sort of sabotaging pattern that will arise.
Exactly.
And so that is why basically what I found is really using the trauma that we experience and actually being open and transparent and saying like, look, yeah, challenging childhoods, porn addiction, blah, blah, blah. It is ultimately like, man, if we take that and then see, okay, like why did we engage in that? And just seeing it as a coping strategy that was basically the best guess to managing maybe stressful situations or challenging situations, or even situations where, because what I now see is like I have a lot of energy and I want to create things and build things. But being then in the role of an employee, not really having full autonomy over what I was wanting to create, I felt like, yeah, I need to like discharge energy in a different way. And so, yeah, porn was like a great way. Like, but ultimately what I see is like, yeah, I have a lot of like sexual power. And so if I actually tap into that and use it to create things and learn how to transmute it and build businesses, but also have loving and deeply expressive relationships, then that's really where it's at, and it's like totally transparent. And I'm like, yeah, this is who I am. And if that resonates, then let's do it. And if it doesn't, then that's cool as well.
Yeah. It's about being unapologetically you. And what I've noticed is I've been on so many stages, but the funny thing is at one point I really saw how I was self-sabotaging, because I actually didn't want to be seen. I didn't have any I had a very low self-esteem by things that happened in my childhood, and so it was quite ironic to be on so many stages and at the same time not wanting to be seen. And I actually started to really feel that when I became also a public speaker, besides my work as a presenter or a DJ or interviewer, because it was always about the others. As a DJ, it was about the music that I was playing. As an interviewer, it was about bringing the other person, out there, like in full glory. And as a host, you are presenting a show. Or as an event moderator, I was moderating an event. So it was always, I was a medium, a tool. Of course, you bring yourself to the stage, but it's not about me. I've been on a stage in front of 35,000 people presenting a show and still kind of energetically making myself invisible, doing my job well, but that's it. It's not about me. So it was still safe, even though I was in a fully packed arena. But as a public speaker, even though you're speaking for 10 people or a few hundred people, you're like, oh my God, now they're coming to hear my story, right? And that's vulnerable. That's vulnerability. And this is where I started. I cannot make myself invisible anymore, because then you're really not a good public speaker, right? So yeah, it is about embracing it all and dealing with your yeah, with things that have shaped you into the person that you are, because you will bring that with you as an artist as well, and in any job that you're doing. But yeah, definitely also on every stage that you will perform at. Yeah.
And it's really interesting when you say with basically becoming like energetically invisible. Like from what you were just sharing, like what came up for me is that, yeah, are we doing what we're doing as a reaction to our past, or are we doing what we're doing as an active form of creation of our future? Because I see that with a lot of like influencers, for example, like, are they actually really influencing from a place of fullness, or is their state of being an influencer because they actually just need to be seen? They want to be seen. They felt like they weren't seen early on, and so they basically found a vehicle to, get that need met. And so ultimately, everything that's created from a sort of like energetic state is created from a place of need, rather than, I feel, the really successful people that, because I actually would say that a lot of successful people, they aren't even like publicly visible anymore from that perspective, because they're just like, man, I'm just happy, I'm just doing the things that I desire and doing creative projects. And I see that a lot. So currently I'm building out a tool for myself to align all the things I do on a day-to-day basis to my 3 massively transformative purposes that I feel are my mission in life. And so the guy that has created this YouTube video that I'm taking inspiration from on how to create this in Notion, he early on, wanted to become this like YouTube influencer and blah blah blah, and creating these channels with like millions of followers. And now on his website, it's like, I'm actually I'm building out my basement. I'm creating music, and it's really about more these creative pursuits rather than making money or wanting to be seen. And ultimately, having better boundaries and being like, look, actually, everything that I have in life is enough, and it's impossible to actually maintain this massive following. It's really ultimately where I see anything that we do in life is really a tool for us to reveal more about who we are. And so when you were saying being on the stage in front of like 35,000 people, presenting someone else, you're sort of a medium, and you're redirecting the focus kind of like through you to the other person.
Yeah.
But then the moment you become the focal point and are effectively observed by a whole bunch of people, I feel this is what I'm learning a lot at the moment, that this tells me so much more about who I am. And then linking to what we said yesterday about trust, really trusting that, we are deserving and that we are great. And really that's realization of like, man, I'm a spiritual being having this human experience. So what do I actually want to experience here? And others being these conduits for us awakening to our greatness.
Definitely. I do think that everybody that is, for example, who chooses to become a more public person, if it's like a presenter or a successful YouTuber or a DJ, the world that I am in, I think everybody has a different personality and a different purpose and a different journey. So there are many different reasons why a person wants to be on stage. For me, it is like, I never thought I was going to be on stage. My life, I just naturally, it just naturally happened to me because people started to ask me to do interviews, to present shows, even for DJing. Of course, I was DJing out of passion, but for myself. I was such a purist. So for me, it's totally different. But there are also people who are very visual people. They know from a young age that they really want to be on a stage, and they are truly artists that, you know, also don't get tired of attention, or that those are the people that are, and I'm not meaning this, and I don't mean this in a very negative way. I mean, people that are, I know artists who are on the top of their career for so many years already, and still having a healthy balance, because they are just built like that. They can deal with it. And there are also people, for example, Tim, like Avicii, who were actually, I mean, the entire world is watching you, and that pressure, sometimes you know, you're not made for it. And it really depends on what kind of personality you have and bring. And maybe at a younger age, you are able to deal with that. And then when you grow older, you're like, no, I'm a bit better behind the scenes. So for everybody, it's different, of course. Yeah.
And I think it is also this journey of actually uncovering, like, what is our talent. And yeah, when I first started actually sharing things publicly, I was like, oh, like every time I felt, man, I'm so scared of like feedback or criticism. And then just learning that, yeah, ultimately most people respond positively. However, there are certain people that, yeah, just don't respond positively. And then I feel it also connects to yesterday's piece about trust, you know, like, and this Brené Brown thing. Am I taking basically feedback from people that are sitting in the seats, or am I taking people from people that are with me in the arena, that are actually like doing things and testing and trying and seeing that, yeah, really work and creation is really this refinement of our talent. And it's an active way, I feel, to transform trauma into something that's positive. And as one of my mentors, he shared this beautiful story with me that, you know, in ancient Rome, their currency was called talent. And so he was saying that basically, look, money is one of God's way to allow us to, yeah, be mutually beneficial to one another.
Yeah.
And so that's exactly where I see a lot of beautiful connection happening at a moment where, yeah, I feel we're entering this eon maybe, where being more open about the challenges that we've transmuted and supporting one another, and like, yeah, it's all part of being human, and it's okay if one labels it's negative or it's positive, then it becomes challenging. But if it's just an experience and it teaches us something about who we are, and it's this fuel to, yeah, learn more about what it is that it means to be human, then I think it becomes really beautiful. And then we can transmute it into talent, into money, basically.
Yeah. And I also think that when you speak about turning your pain or your trauma into purpose, then it all comes down to the why question. Why are you doing what you are doing? And for every person, that is different and has a different fulfillment. But I believe, and I did some soul searching and to really get my answers, like, why am I doing what I am doing? Also, the things that come naturally to me, the things that you enjoy and come natural to you, you should be doing those, right? You should not let those go. But why is that important to you? Why are you doing these things? I see great artists with a big following, and I'm like, yeah, you're a great artist, but do you know what kind of message you're sending out to your followers? Did you ever think about this, right? And I think for everybody, what kind of profession you have, it doesn't really matter. It's like, ask yourself that question. Why am I doing what I am doing? And that, if you get the answer to that, every day is really like so much easier to deal with the hard stuff, because you know you're on a mission, or you are doing what you feel that you are supposed to be doing. Yeah, absolutely.
And when you said that with the artists, it's really, with great power comes great responsibility. And I feel, yeah, the more people look at what we do, I feel the more there is this real quest towards going inside and being like, am I coming from a place of love? Am I coming from a place of compassion? Am I coming from a place of real humanity?
Yeah.
And yeah, so in that regard, I feel this journey outwards requires the equal amount of the journey inwards of like, man. And I feel this is definitely what I recognize, that the more I've done work on the outside, I recognize, man, actually there's a lot more inside. And so basically now it has kind of like flipped around, where I'm really interested in my inner journey. And then the outer journey sort of happens, let's say, accidentally almost, it just kind of happens as a result of the journey on the inside.
Yeah, that's a great balance. I think a lot of people are focused on the outside, right? What's happening on the outside, when that is okay, I will feel good from the inside. I think it's vice versa. When you start feeling good from the inside, the outside will fall into place. So cliche, but when you really start to embody that, then again, all the hardship and challenges that you're facing are easier to deal with. Because if your inside is not okay and your outside is falling apart, which it probably will if your inside is not okay, right? Then what do you have left? So definitely work on the inside. Work on, if we talk again about like the pain and traumas, like you said in the beginning, then, go have a look at that scary inside of you and see what's there. Just look the monster in the eye, and it will only... it's a present to yourself. That's how I would call it. Yeah. Absolutely.
And I feel this sort of outside inside piece I feel our jumping off point for tomorrow to get more into burnout. That's what I mean, you have a lot more experience. I personally haven't experienced burnout myself, fortunately. But I definitely feel like when there is too much outward focus, it just draws so much energy from within, which then leads to burnout. I'm super excited for seeing where we go tomorrow in that sense.
Me too. A lot to share.
Amazing. So that's all for our Happy Tuesday. Lots of love, beautiful humans. See you again tomorrow.
Bye.
Bye.